Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of short-term and long-term technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, because in today's video, I want to talk about this bullish breakout that we've been witnessing here on Bitcoin, and also look at some longer-term predictors of where Bitcoin is going to be going over the next couple of weeks, because that technical indicator that I was talking about in the title would, of course, be the weekly stochastic RSI. You guys know I've been talking about this potential bearish cross on the stochastic RSI for a couple of weeks now, and today being Monday, we've seen this cross happen. Now, both of the stochastic RSI lines down here are sitting right on top of each other, but that would be classified as a cross. And as I'll show you in today's video, every single time that happens, it is bearish for Bitcoin. We're going to talk about what that might mean for Bitcoin later on in the video, but I do also want to start with some short-term technical analysis here to get you guys up to speed on what has happened here over the last 24 hours. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting the subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Guys, Bitcoin is currently trading around $3,965. It's down a couple of percentage points, about 1.5 percentage points to 2 percentage points. Over the last 12 hours or so, Bitcoin had been moving to the downside. We know that Bitcoin broke bullish out here, and as I talked about a couple videos ago, you guys thought that I was crazy because we were just going into a bull flag. I mentioned how even though, yes, this does look like a bull flag, I was concerned that Bitcoin was going to instead just trade sideways. And when Bitcoin trades sideways after a bullish breakout, sometimes that's a bullish thing, sometimes that's a bearish thing. It's really one of those situations in technical analysis where you want to start to defer to other technical analysis as a bit of a tiebreaker. It's like how if the first game of rock, paper, scissors, you win, the second game of rock, paper, scissors, the other person wins, then you have to have a third game to decide who's actually going to win. I played rock, paper, scissors yesterday, so that's why that was in my head. But of course, that's what's going on here. We're seeing bullish scenarios and bearish scenarios that can play out from Bitcoin trading sideways here. So really, to be sure of what Bitcoin is going to do here, we want to look at other technical indicators, which there are some that we're going to be discussing in this video. Now, like I mentioned in yesterday's video, this technical indicator right here, this chart pattern, I should say, this one right here would be what is known as a bull flag, because Bitcoin rallied. Bitcoin rallied here, moved to the upside, moved downwards a little bit in between these downtrending levels of support and resistance, and normally you would have seen a bullish breakout here. And while we did see somewhat of a bullish breakout, this was looking promising about 12 hours ago, sometime around getting close to midnight of last night on the east coast of America where I'm stationed. Even if that had have happened, Bitcoin was moving to the upside. It would have been nice if Bitcoin kept going up, but in fact, the bears showed their dominance and asserted their control over the market and pulled Bitcoin back down. This is very important because Bitcoin was breaking out at the time. It was moving up, getting away, getting out of this bull flag, trying to continue the breakout, which it has started a couple days ago, but the bears managed to pull us back down. This is a very strong indicator of the strength of the bears right now. You do not want to overlook something like that. One thing I also want to mention is a little bit of candlestick analysis. If we look up here at the top, then we see two different types of candlestick analysis that we want to look at. We see a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, where you see one smaller green candlestick followed by a larger red candlestick, and we also see a spinning top right here. So that spinning top does indicate indecision in the market, and the bearish engulfing candlestick does also indicate bearishness in the market. It is important to look down even on those microscopic levels down here on the hourly chart and look at just one or two candlesticks to try and break the tie that we're looking at right now. Because even though Bitcoin is trading sideways, I would say this is slightly more bearish than bullish. Now guys, like I've said in many videos, there's a very good chance that Bitcoin keeps rallying to the upside here, but a lot of times when you see a market try to rally and then it fails, and then it tries to rally again and it fails, and it does that a couple of times, that is typically indicative of something. So watch out for this, guys. This could be bad. And that's without even getting into any other technical indicators we're going to be looking at in today's video. That's simply based off of chart analysis, pattern analysis, a couple of candlesticks, and the strength of the bulls and the bears, which is a very valid way to do technical analysis, but there is more to come. If we look down here on the Bitcoin's MACD, Bitcoin is currently sitting in bearish territory on the MACD. MACD did turn bullish for about a day here, and it didn't manage to do anything with it. And that's kind of concerning because a lot of times when you see these indicators turn bullish or when they turn bearish, that is typically the first domino to fall when you're trying to build momentum in the market, whether it's moving to the upside or whether it's moving to the downside. It doesn't matter which direction it's moving. When you see the MACD cross, when you see the stochastic RSI start moving up or down, when you start seeing the RSI moving up or down, that's typically the first thing to fall. That's typically the first domino to fall. And then a lot of times more dominoes will fall after that if the bulls or the bears, depending on which side or which direction the market is moving, if they're strong enough, they'll be able to maintain that. And the fact that the Bitcoin MACD did turn bullish here for about a day, and we did see Bitcoin break this downtrend of resistance that it was under and start moving out of this bull flag in a bullish way, which is exactly what we would have liked to see for Bitcoin to start moving to the upside. And then we saw that. That is very concerning. That is very concerning. And one thing people have been mentioning to me is that the breakout here on Bitcoin happened mainly over the course of the weekend. And as people have pointed out, and as is very true, technical analysis on the weekend is sometimes a little bit less viable and a little bit less important than technical analysis that takes place during the week. That's why you can find charts that show the the daily chart, for example, and it only shows daily weekday movement, because a lot of times on the weekends, a lot of times the number of bots in the market are far more significant, and there's less longer term technical analysis going into play when we're looking at the way the market moves. So the information that happens on the daily chart sometimes is, on the weekends sometimes isn't as important. And we did see that the main part of this breakout did happen on the weekend, so it may be that it could have been a false breakout. I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade. I'm not trying to throw poop in the soup or anything, but Bitcoin did break out here on the weekend, and we do see some bearishness. Now, with all that said, Bitcoin does still have a chance to break bullish. If it takes it, then boom, we'll be happy, we'll be good. But there are a lot of bearish signs right now. Bitcoin had its chance about 12 hours ago, and it didn't take it. Now, with that in mind, this was Sunday night. We've been talking about daily time frame, what happens on the weekend, what happens at different times of the day. This did happen on Sunday night, guys. If there's one time period that goes on in the week that has probably the least amount of human trading activity, it is probably the nighttime of Sunday. And during Sunday night, for the majority of the United States of America, which is a very big portion of the trading population in the cryptocurrency market, that's when this bearish signal happens. So take that with a grain of salt. This is important, both those candlesticks I showed you, but keep in mind that they are in fact occurring at around midnight around midnight on the east coast of America. As you can see right here, it was the 17th of March. The 17th was a Sunday. If you look down here, then you can see the time. Of course, we're at UTC -4, otherwise known as Eastern Time. And that did happen around 11 o'clock, 9 to 10, 11 o'clock, something like that. Anyway, with all that shorter term technical analysis out of the way, I want to start moving out to longer term until we get to the weekly chart and start looking at that stochastic RSI cross, because that is extremely important, and I don't want that to be overlooked. One thing we've also seen out here on the 4-hourly, as we start moving our way out towards the weekly chart, we see that Bitcoin was rather bullish here on the MACD. On the 4-hourly chart, when Bitcoin was breaking out here, as you would expect it to be, but seeing as the MACD is a lagging indicator, it did start moving to the downside around the time that Bitcoin started moving, around the time that Bitcoin stopped moving to the upside and started moving down. And in the last couple of hours here, the last 12 hours or so, we've seen a bearish cross on the MACD, and that has not been a small bearish cross. In fact, that bearish cross has been rather abrupt. Bitcoin's MACD line, that being the MACD line, this being the stochastic RSI line, the MACD line has crashed extremely quickly. Extremely quickly. It's a very bearish sign. You can see what the stochastic RSI is doing ever since we broke out. It's been crashing to the floor. Now, there's two arguments that you can make with these kind of oscillators. Bitcoin stochastic RSI being oversold does indicate that there may be some kind of bounce, but the fact that it's moved so quickly to the downside is also indicative of bearish momentum. Now, that's pretty much all I want to show you on the 4-hourly. I believe there may have been a thing on the Heikin-Ashi I wanted to show you, and that is that over the last couple of days, Bitcoin was rather bullish on the Heikin-Ashi. If you guys aren't familiar with Heikin-Ashi and you're in CT2A, there is a video on the Heikin-Ashi chart, so if you're interested in that, go check that video out. I think I do a pretty decent job of explaining Heikin-Ashi, because it can be a little confusing when you first look at it. If you guys aren't already in CT2A, there is the link in the description, of course. But anyway, Bitcoin broke out here and was very green. It turned red for a couple days, went green again, and over the last 12 hours or so, Bitcoin has turned red. And the reason I'm showing you Heikin-Ashi is because in that video, I talk about a very important secret that I don't talk about very much on this channel, but this is honestly one of my favorite technical indicators and one of my favorite chart patterns. When you see this Heikin-Ashi on Bitcoin turn red, in correspondence with a bearish MACD cross. As you can see here, 12 hours ago, we saw a bearish MACD cross, and 12 hours ago, we saw Heikin-Ashi on the 4-hourly turn red. When you see those two technical indicators line up, the chart pattern being the Heikin-Ashi and the oscillator of the MACD, when you see those two technical indicators line up, they're almost always giving you a very important signal. They're almost always giving you a very strong signal. Now, with that said, guys, when we come out to the daily chart, it doesn't look as bad. If we come out to the daily chart, then Bitcoin's Heikin-Ashi is looking green, and Bitcoin is bullish on the MACD when we're looking at Heikin-Ashi candlesticks. If we go back to normal candlesticks, Bitcoin, I believe, is likewise still looking bullish on the MACD, albeit there are two red candlesticks to look at. With all that said, if we look at the Heikin-Ashi and the MACD combo out here on the daily chart, Bitcoin is still looking rather bullish. So what all that means, and the fact that Bitcoin hasn't crashed too much out here in the hourly chart, means that all these bearish signals I'm telling you about, they may not be indicative of a massive crash. We may instead see some kind of smaller crash, maybe $100, $200, maybe $250. we see Bitcoin pull back for a few days based on all these bearish technicals, and then we start moving to the upside. Because if we start looking out at the daily chart, it does seem that Bitcoin is looking rather healthy. With that said, if we move out to the weekly chart, it flips again, because if we look out the weekly chart, while we do have a bullish MACD cross, and we are looking at bullish MACD for the first time ever since the beginning of this bear market, that is important. I don't want to overlook that. That is extremely important, especially this trend line that we can draw in the histogram out here. Look at that right there. That's a very bullish sign right there. Bitcoin's MACD is consistently getting more and more bullish every single weekly candlestick that passes. That is very true. And that is indicative of a very important long-term trend that Bitcoin is going to see. But MACD in this case is predicting much longer-term trends. MACD is predicting trends out several months from now, starting now and moving out several months from now. Stochastic RSI could be indicating a shorter-term crash, maybe over the next week, 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then we bounce from there. That's what the Stochastic RSI cross is indicating. And as you can see, if we zoom in very closely here, you can barely see it. Zoom in very closely here. You have to get real close. That cross has indeed happened, and next week it'll more than likely start moving to the downside, depending on what the chart does. Of course, the stochastic RSI will start moving in accordance with what the chart tells it to do, because of course it is a mathematical derivative of what the chart does based on the close, the open, and the price of Bitcoin itself. Now let's go ahead and verify that claim that I made in the title, that this indicator almost always, or actually does always, cause or does at least correlate with bearishness on Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's get rid of the stochastic RSI and the MACD and make stochastic RSI a little bit bigger here. Oh crap. Well, we'll just leave it like this for right now. You guys can see that. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at this. The last time we saw a cross was, well, about 12 hours ago. We saw that right there. Last time we saw a cross before that was back over here on the 14th of January, 2019. We saw bearishness. Last time before that was back over here in November. About a week later, we saw Bitcoin fall below $6,000. If we continue looking back over here, we saw a cross on the stochastic RSI about a week after we fell back below from our up and from our rally up to around $8,400. In May, same thing. In March, same thing. 2017, December of 2017, the all-time high, same exact thing. November of 2017, when Bitcoin ran up to $8,000, we saw a stochastic RSI cross, same thing. August 2017, same thing. June 2017, same thing. March, January of 2017, June of 2016, May of 2016, this wasn't really a big crash. If you want to go back and find the last time that this was not a very important indicator of potential price movement for Bitcoin, you have to go all the way back to 2016. That's over 2 years ago. This is a very powerful indicator, and you don't want to overlook it. Guys, this is almost all the way back to the beginning of the bull market. We're looking back over here at the first couple of months of the bull market, the 2016 to 17 bull market. Normally, when stochastic RSI crosses out here on the weekly chart, you're going to see some bearishness. Now, that may be in a week or two, because if you look at the stochastic RSI crosses, they don't always line up perfectly with these movements. As we can see, the stochastic RSI cross happened between the 7th of May candlestick in 2018 and the 14th of May candlestick in 2018, but the downtrend really started sometime around the very beginning of May, so it happened about a week later. These don't always correlate perfectly. Sometimes they're predictive indicators, sometimes they're lagging indicators, but the stochastic RSI on the weekly chart does normally correlate anyway with downtrends or rallies on Bitcoin, depending on whether or not the stochastic RSI is crossing bullish or crossing bearish, and right now it is crossing bearish, which means to me that in the next 2 weeks or so, we're probably going to see a downtrend for Bitcoin. We're probably going to see Bitcoin start moving to the downside. And to be quite honest with you guys, that wouldn't really surprise me, because even though Bitcoin was in a shorter term downtrend here for a little while, if you get rid of these two lines right here, it kind of just looks like Bitcoin's moving to the upside, to be totally honest. If we start getting rid of all these technicals and we look at it, Bitcoin really does look like it's moving to the upside. It is in kind of a pseudo uptrend. It's not really a very strong uptrend, but it is nevertheless trending upwards. Bitcoin is moving to the upside, and it wouldn't really be surprising for Bitcoin to have some kind of fall over right here and for Bitcoin to start moving to the downside. That wouldn't be surprising to me. I think there's a very good argument for the bulls right now. But at the same time, that stochastic RSI is a very powerful indicator, and we have a lot of other reasons based on other technical analysis that I've talked about that Bitcoin on the very short terms, down on the hourly chart, and out on the weekly chart, Bitcoin may start moving to the downside. So guys, I want you to be prepared for that. I want you to be ready for that. We'll talk about price targets if Bitcoin starts making a really quick movement here, and I think that's probably going to happen in the next couple of days. Bitcoin's kind of been trading sideways here over the last couple of days and then moving to the upside over the last 2 or 3 days. But I think we're probably going to see some more price action coming in the next couple of days, because if we look at the volume, it's been dropping off a little bit, and a lot of times when that happens, you see some kind of breakout. Guys, tell me in the comment section down below what you think about today's technical analysis. Do you think Bitcoin is going to rally from here? Think Bitcoin is going to move upwards and use that daily MACD that I was talking about, and use the daily MACD and indeed the weekly MACD to cause some bullishness for Bitcoin? Do you think Bitcoin is going to start moving to the upside from here? Do you think Bitcoin is going to perhaps break this downtrend of resistance and start rallying back towards $6,000? Or do you think Bitcoin is going to respect that stochastic RSI out on the weekly chart once more and start moving to the downside over the next couple of weeks? I'm interested, as always, to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. Guys, I do appreciate every single one of you watching, as always. And one thing I want to mention before we go is that this video may be out a little bit late. That's because I started recording late, and that's because I was very active this weekend, and I think I may have broken my foot. If it doesn't feel better by tomorrow, I'm going to go and get it x-rayed. That will have been the second time I broke my foot in my life, so I do have my crutches from a couple years ago that I've been walking around on just to keep it safe. I just figured I'd tell you that. I don't know, TMI, I guess you're interested. I don't know. You can tell me in the comment section down below what you think of that. Anyway, I'm well and truly rambling now, guys. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always. Good luck in your trading, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.